How has it impacted you, your family, your work world, in terms of social context? And just have that conversation, if you would, for 4 minutes. I want to move now into understanding why these changes are happening quicker. There are several reasons for these changes. First of all, there's been social restructuring throughout the world. So we're seeing different ways people across these generations. You know, in the 1960s, there was this generation gap we had. Now there's a generation gap every 3 or 4 years. I mean, my brother, we started, the older one you saw in the picture, you know, we're close in age. He's a year and a half older than I am, lives down in Key West, Florida, and we both had Vitalis. You know, that was pretty slick at the time. And he went from Vitalis to the Jesus look, you know, in like overnight. And that was like a shock. Well, that social restructuring wasn't a one-time event. It's happening more often around the globe. We have unified markets. So the issue of having the EU, and Tom and I have been in Maastricht together at the birthplace of the EU, is old news. You know, we even have Greenland saying thanks but no thanks, I'm getting out. So we have people coming in, people going out. It's a different AU, the African Union. All these things now are just like commonplace. People that grew up say, well, aren't there these consortiums of countries that believe the same in terms of economics or in terms of political or in terms of what? Technology skip. Tom mentioned Botswana. You know, at one time, Botswana had the longest continuous fiber optics cable in the world. It ran about 250 miles from Gaborone, the capital city, up to Francistown, roughly along the Limpopo River, and the real population base of Botswana. And it was just British Wire and Cable was a contractor. They had put it in under Botswana Telecoms. Great system, a lot of line plants, so a lot of capacity in the ground, ready to hook up houses and businesses, and then cell phone towers from South Africa started to appear right around the capital city. Guess who was the last one to launch cellular telephone? Botswana Telecoms. Why? A lot of line plant that suddenly became next to useless. So South Africa, China is, of course, the best example. We don't have to go through string and wire everywhere. We just skipped over that whole thing. Let's just go directly to cell phone. So the pace is so rapid now that people don't have to go through the gates that the previous people went through. We have an abundance of goods, abundance of non-survival time. I doubt that any of you went out and killed the pig or got the chickens or did all that or built your hut or ran that generator last night to get AC in the... I think all of you just took from society, along with me too. But you took from society with the promise that you would repay it in what form? Faster change, improved systems. In other words, if we went back to, let's just go back into the kings and queens of yore. And so I'll be the king. I like that. Any queens? Yeah. And so this would be me and my little staff of soldiers would be probably the total in terms, and maybe a jester, Tom. It would be probably the total capacity of our wealth that we could sit around. And now we have great portions of the population sitting around, and some are glued to the drug, the plug-in drug is 1960s called the television. Yeah, that's true. But many of us are engaged in improving the system and having even more rapid change. So this is what you're bringing. You're helping build the tsunami. Changing political structures, maturing of democracies. Fascinating subject here. We could go into voting by mail and things that just the whole how we see democracies has shifted. And sometimes we don't have that perspective. But all this stuff is in flux, and all of it adds up to something bigger, something that's changing. Maybe in a small way, we can see it in the airplane. That's a good example, and that's one that Rickover often used, is that, you know, until we couldn't have the airplane until we understood Bernoulli's equation, sailboats, years, centuries of sailing. So we understood the term of lift. Take that sail, put it on its side. We couldn't build the airplane, though, until we had certain materials, light materials. In this case, wood, you know, heavy glues, light wood, well reinforced. We need some power. Certainly that steam engine didn't work very well in the 1800s. I don't know if everyone tried to strap a boiler to it, but we then have a combustion engine that we had, and again, had to be a certain sophistication in terms of weight, and then we put these things together and we made the airplane. 2006, we celebrated the 100th year of the Wright brothers' invention, but it took a number of inventions to come together in order to produce a plane. But after we produce a plane, then we start thinking, well, why not put a rocket to it? Why not send it outside the atmosphere? Why not do this or that to it? So we take these inventions and we add. So it's not just inventions. We take social systems and we add to them. We mutate them. That speeds up the innovation cycle. So as a result, we have these tsunamis of change that are occurring. Now, in the midst of all these tsunamis, we have some self-made tsunamis. You know, in your clinical work, you work with a lot of self-generated tsunamis, right? You help people see that the turmoil in their life, yes, there's an external environment aspect in terms of persuasion and everything else, but these things are, you're messing up your life. So we have that happening in the midst, and we have our own maturation, we have our family's maturation, and we have societal rapid change all coming together, and we can't sort it out. I don't know if it's me. I don't know if it's you. I don't know if it's the world. Sometimes we feel like the world's on a hot plate. And that feeling is going to be there until you change perspective about what's happening. Because the tsunamis are going to happen faster and faster, less time between each tsunami. So if that's your coping mechanism now, is to bunker down, get on top of it, just wait till this one passes. It's like, I just visualize running down to the shore because the last tsunami gave way. And then you build up your little house, your little hut, your little house, your little fishing, and then another one comes. And then you run back to the shore, and another one back to the shore. And there's going to be a time that going to the shore is just not the right strategy to take. So let's back up maybe even further and talk about transformation. So the way out of this thing is to look at the skill set of transformation, abrupt change, defined as a marked change in nature or function of organizational systems, creating discontinuous step function improvement in sought-after results. Now I want to differentiate this from two other types of important change, standardization and continuous improvement. Incremental improvement, from breakthrough or transformative improvement. In fact, Bertrand Julien Denore, past Secretary General of the European Organization of Quality, and Cindy Schilling and myself, we did a project back in the late 90s, I guess it is now, on the amount of these types of changes that organizations do on the average. Average good organizations, not the best necessarily, but survivable organizations. About 80%, a good rule of thumb, of an organization's time is spent in standardization. That's just getting out the McDonald's hamburgers the right way. That's training people on just do it this way. And if there's deviations, special causes, we go back and decide what it is, and we say get back with the standard operating procedure. And people are making standard operating procedures, and they're moving to consolidate the business, the operation, into a set of protocols. Very important. Most of our time is spent there. The people we manage, their time is, this is how you do inpatient, intake. This is how you do outplacement. Don't do it that way. Do it this way. Is there a reason for deviating from that? And now, of course, what NIATx has brought is a boatload in terms of knowledge that has been around for scores of years in the area of continuous improvement. And at one time, TQM was seen as, that's something for the top boss or top team or whatever else. And I lived through that era, and I lived through it here, and I lived through it in Japan. And I support, as part of American Society of Quality and just stepping off the board of that strong organization, I love Lean Six Sigma.